Hi everybody, it's me, the Fetch, host of Inside the Eye Live. Before the Sunday mainstream media political pundit talk shows, there's Inside the Eye Live, where we break down some of the weekly mainstream media talking points before the talking points even get aired. Add in some entertaining stories, weather, cats, intriguing and informative guests, and you get one of the most listened to Saturday morning streaming media political talk shows going today. And it's all right here on our flagship station, Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. So join me, the Fetch, for Inside the Eye Live every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern. It is truly intelligent media for the politically aware.
Welcome to Sacred Matrix, a divine paradigm of love and universal consciousness, with your host, Janet Kira Lessin and Dr. Sasha Lessin.
Together we transform the world.
And now, here are your hosts, Janet Kira and Dr. Sasha Lessin.
A very special interview with our guest, Alfred Lambremont Webre, who's been on our show so many times, I can't remember how many times. We're going to do the show in two parts. The first part, we're going to go into the dark side of creation and talk about Draco, CIA, NSA, MK Ultra, ritual child sacrifice and religions, the Vatican, Jesuit, Talmudic, and we're going to talk about monarchies, governments, and schools, and the wars for the transhumanist agenda. And then part two, we'll take a commercial break at the top of the hour, and part two will be creating a positive future. Time science shows our Earth is on a positive timeline in our time-space hologram. And before I bring on Alfred, Dr. Lessin, what would you like to say?
I just was reading, Alfred, your article on how NASA, it can't resist the tide of millions of experiences and leakers and so forth, and it's preparing us to finally let down some of the truth embargo. The problem, of course, being that letting down part of the truth embargo will let us know who murdered whom, too, ultimately. So I'm eager to hear what your take is on all that.
And welcome to our show, Alfred.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I'm very, very happy to be here.
We love having you here, Alfred.
Oh, well, thank you. I think it's because I carry so many hats that I end up being a person that is somehow a little bit different from other people that are working in the multidimensional arena, because I have a hat as a lawyer and a hat as a judge, and it's a hat that has acted many times in cases for justice. Starting with the acting as counsel in the Panther 21 case in 1969, where I represented an SDS person there. And so I've been approached. Hello? What? It sounds like...
Is that your cat? Oh,
that's my cat. Oh.
Take her outside, honey.
It sounds like a cat.
Sorry. She's a cat that's about 19 years old. And I think she's getting senile. Sorry about that, everybody.
Just jumped up on my lap. That's what happened.
Oh.
No, that's fine. My cat was in my office inside one of the carton of books that I have here.
That's what they like. They're all spies, Cats are all spies, and they're reporting back to the government what we're doing.
I see.
That's what I was told. Yes, but back to the story. Go ahead.
So a lot of this has come out of my journeying in a way, unexpectedly into areas deep into the dark Luciferic underworld of this planet, and what has the planet in its grip or thinks it has the planet in its grip at the institutional level, and it's trying to keep it in its grip, but we can see that it's losing it daily, but it's still trying to implement the transhumanist agenda. And one of these one of these exercises, after exploring this area for over 3 years, we brought on board a Spanish researcher, Juan Lancamp, and together we tried to break through to a new vision of what's really driving the pedophile, the ritual child sacrifice, the ritual trafficking networks on the planet. For example, I was on a talk show host with a person who might well be a candidate for the 2016 U.S. presidential nomination. There are a number of truth people. This person is a radio talk show host, and he's developing a thing called the collective presidency. And the concept,
interesting.
Yeah. And the concept,
it's better than Bill and Hillary.
What? Yeah.
Better than Hillary.
Yeah.
Hillary or the Bush. Jeb? Yeah, Jeb Bush. God.
Yeah. And the concept of the collective presidency is that the person is going to run with, apparently the president can nominate 360 some odd or more, I have the number correct, of officials in their administration. So this person is going to run with all 360 some odd people in his administration. And the concept is that we have the Republicans and the Democrats who are really flip sides of the same coin. It's been a CIA dictatorship, especially since we now know that time travel has been used since the early 1970s to pre-identify winners, future U.S. presidents, and to brief them, and to make them into essentially CIA operatives. And so you've got essentially a CIA dictatorship in the U.S., which practically everybody on the planet can see, and Americans are finally waking up to it to some degree or another. And so his concept is that of a collective.
Are you there?
Hello? Is anybody there? Alfred, did we lose you?
We're still live on the air. Alfred's reconnecting at this time.
Okay.
Okay, this idea of a collective is very exciting because we don't know what deals Republicans and Democrats have made, but Alfred's alternative means that all the officials he's going to appoint. Very intriguing idea.
Are we back yet, Sean?
No, we're still trying to reconnect with him.
Okay, still trying to reconnect. Okay, so
Hello?
Sasha, what do you? Hi, there he is. Okay,
Hi.
you were
Well,
explaining
listen,
this collective president.
We just got to the point where you're talking about the collective.
I'm actually talking to you through my iPhone now because my computer would not answer, but somehow you managed to reach my iPhone. So I think that we're actually hitting some pretty raw nerves. So this is
yes.
As far as I'm concerned, this is Radio Free Alfred reaching the now isolated and captured USA.
If that's what it feels like, and I wonder if our listeners understand what you're referring to. Like, is that like back in World War II? We had Radio Free. Yeah, we were trying to reach behind the Nazi curtain, and now it's the reverse. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean it's like suddenly I got back on, but only my iPhone. So I hope that
hear that Mr. Harper and his government is just as control crazy as our government. And in fact, they may be governed by the same.
I think they're trying to put in their stuff, but I think that this is definitely the no such agency, the NSA,
right?
That is trying to block us. So anyway, we were talking and what he's attempting to do in the collective presidency, and this was the crucial point, just as we were cut off, is that you have what the CIA have done through the time travel is to create a dictatorship there between the pre-selected and pre-identified presidents. This year, it doesn't, in 2016, at least according to the old catastrophic timeline, you don't know whether it's going to be Hillary Clinton or Jeb Bush.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry?
I get right, and then they're trying to get Hillary in trouble for some kind of those emails that she did, and so it started already. Yes, started.
Yeah. There's going to be all kinds of drama, and so they will throw out a little bit of email to get everybody off track,
mm-hmm.
and then they'll say, General Colin Powell also used a private computer when he was at the UN, and he was a good guy. This is all stagecraft.
Right. All theater for us.
It's all theater. It's kabuki theater. So the plan of the collective president, we don't know if it's going to work this year, but maybe in 2020, is that if you look at the vote, there's recent polls that over 70% of people under 25 are totally disaffected with the parties. the political parties. And so the object here is to get and try and unite all of the parties that are on the that have ballot access. Get all the Green parties together, get the Green Party together with all of the other and all of the parties that have ballot access, and have them come together for this election and go with a single ticket, and then have that be of the collective presidency, where the president, the vice president, and you run with your 360 people. And one way that you can elect the 360 people is that you put up a website and you just advertise for them. And in this climate, you're going to get the best resumes and people that you want, who are truth-oriented, who are citizens, who really want to clean out the American government, clean out the occupation, clean out the trolls, clean out all the dishonesty that we've seen, clean out the ritual child sacrificers, clean out all of that. And we'll get into the details in the later part of this hour. And so that's the general theory of it. And we're now in March of 2015, and make the transparent presidency a phenom. Now, what's very interesting as we're on the dark agenda side of things, and we'll go into some of the research now, is that if we look at the U.S. presidential tickets for 2016, the leading Republican and Democratic families involved in the presidential campaign for 2016, the Bushes and the Clintons, are both, by the evidence, committed participants in ritual child sacrifices, blood drinking, and pedophilia. According to Juan Lancamp's evidence, pedophilia parties, as part of the CIA MKUltra circuit, took place in the White House under George H.W. Bush and George W. Bush. Both Bush Sr. and Bush Jr. participated at Area 51 in ritual human sacrifice, blood drinking, and flesh eating in joint ceremonies with Draco reptilians held in underground facilities as part of a cooperative entity of Draco reptilians and the U.S. military.
What is his evidence?
Sorry?
He said he has evidence. What is his evidence?
You can go to our article at newsinsideout.com, and the sources are listed there. And you can go to our interview, and he lists the sources in the interview. These are witnesses.
Excellent. Okay. And Sean has that link. He'll put it in the chat.
Yeah. Likewise, both Hillary and Bill Clinton, according to Juan Lancamp's evidence, have participated in ritual child sacrifice and are human blood drinkers. While no explicit evidence has emerged of Jeb Bush participating in ritual sacrifice, it is reasonable to expect that Jeb Bush was aware of such Bush activity, of the sacrifice activities of his older brother's father, and may have participated. At the very least, as presidential candidates, Jeb Bush would be expected to denounce pedophilia and ritual child sacrifice by his father and brother and any other Bush family members. And all 2016 presidential candidates should be questioned as to whether they have ever participated in pedophilia, ritual child sacrifice, or child trafficking, or in any of the networks that support this. And
what is the purpose of having all this ritual abuse and child sacrifice? Do they get some kind of superpowers from it, or are they just hungry, or
this turns the whole planet into a reptilian planet. Have humans eating each other, and then the greatest human sacrifice, ritual sacrifice, would be World War III, wouldn't it be?
Right.
So that's the spiritual battle that we're kind of fighting here. It's not only against other exophenotypes, but against powers and principalities. So there's also the transhumanist agenda, which we have been exposing. You see, by exposing all of this, it's like exposing and diagnosing an illness or a condition that the planet has. And so it's when all this is coming out that then the condition can be acknowledged and the healing can begin. So this is all very good stuff, that all this is coming out. And we haven't even started to get to Hampstead yet.
Let's talk about explain to our listeners, what is the transhumanist agenda?
Yeah. So the transhumanist agenda can be defined as a complex cooperative entity originating in the Draco Reptilians and CIA U.S. government as a joint enterprise, and the Illuminatis, using MK Ultra technology that appears now to have expanded into a planetary infrastructure around NSA and contracting agencies around the world, along a dedicated grid of HARP installations, chemtrails, supergrids, supercomputers, nanobots, nanochips, to be the prime mover entity responsible for driving pedophile and ritual child sacrifice networks worldwide in power institutions such as the churches, that is the Vatican, Jesuits, Talmudic, Zionists, monarchies, the UK monarchy. That's what the 2012 Olympics were all about. It was heralding a satanic world. Governments, intelligence agencies, military, police, schools. We'll talk about the Hampstead school area. So you see what their future looks like. Pedophile and ritual child sacrifice activities and networks worldwide appear to facilitate establishing a global power base in these institutions for the ultimate robotization of humanity, because it weakens the soul and it facilitates the activation of the implants, the nanobots that are coming down through the chemtrails, where 80% of humanity is now implanted, and all you need is the activation. And the overall goal of the transhumanist agenda is the robotization of humans and the substitution of manipulatory artificial intelligence for the human soul and source connection. So I think
let me ask you a couple questions on that. So you're saying that the chemtrails have nanobots that have gotten into our bodies and we're already half robotized right now? Is that what you're saying? Something like that? Am I getting that right?
Yeah. Basically, what the chemtrails are, what the chemtrails are, they contain nanobots, which and they're sprayed all over the urban areas. And the humans breathe them in, they enter the bloodstream, they jump the blood-brain barrier, they go into the brain, and they're activated as implants, and then they're entrained into supergrids with supercomputers that are then ingrained into the software in HARP or in other mind control software generators like satellites or police antennas or any other mind control software broadcasters. And that's how the system works now. And now it's estimated that between 80 and 100% of humans are now implanted. Now the question is, how many are activated? And the activated end of it.
Is there any way that the soul can overwrite this process? Because the soul has power itself.
The soul is the first and last line of defense. And that's where the function of the pedophile networks, the satanic child sacrifice networks, and the eroding of all the institutions, starting with the family, the schools, the churches, the governments, the parliaments, the police, the military, the intelligence, the Vatican, the Jesuits, the Talmudics, and the Zionists. That's where all that comes in, because then the institutions, when all of these are thoroughly infiltrated, then the human individual does not have that structural and infrastructural support, so it's easier to get at the soul.
Wow.
So,
all right, so we have this agenda. Continue.
Yeah.
What can we do? What's going on?
Well, so what we're doing now is that we're not slowly, but what we're doing is through tremendous effort, we're bringing this into the public arena. I had a public debate on my Facebook page, which is very unfortunate for him, with another 2016 U.S. presidential candidate, Andrew D. Bashago, who went into complete reaction and defensiveness, unlike the collective presidency at these articles. And he said, all you are is anti-American. This isn't happening in the United States. I said, excuse me, what about the pedophile parties at the White House? And he said, Brazil kills its street children. The United States doesn't kills its street children. And so I just quoted at him what another presidential candidate had just told me that morning in a public radio program, and that is that between 750 and 1 million children go missing a year in the United States, and the FBI is under orders to ignore this. Why? Because they're controlled and participating as part of the ritual child sacrifice, pedophile, and child trafficking networks, which ultimately reach back into the CIA and the Dracos. And I don't care, Mr. Bashago, whether you're trying to cover up your own CIA service, but that's what the analysis leads to. Is it leads back to the Dracos, the U.S. government, its treaties in 1933 under the Roosevelt administration signed in Balboa, Panama, at the same time that the Dracos, fronted by the Orion Greys, were signing treaties with the Nazis. After World War II, through Operation Paperclip, through Galen, they brought the whole Nazi intelligence apparatus over to the U.S., including their ties to the Orion Greys and the Draco reptilians. So the U.S. got a double dose.
And
So the Dracos are.
Wait, I understand, about the Dracos, but I don't see what ordinary human beings like you and me could. Why do they would want to do such horrible things? It just doesn't make any sense to me. It's like you do something to a child. It's like doing it to yourself.
I'm sorry?
And why are the humans participating in this? We can see the extraterrestrials or the Dracos and their reasons perhaps for doing it is to take over. But how do they get these humans to participate in this as well? Did you hear us? Sasha, are you there?
Yeah, what I was asking is the same question that you asked. Maybe you can't hear me or something, but Alfred, can you hear me? Why in the world would the Clintons do such horrible things? I don't get it.
Are they reptiles? Are they Dracos? Okay, we're having
Hello?
difficulties again. Okay, are you back, Alfred?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're trying to understand why human beings would do such horrible things to children. It's like hurting yourself.
Is Hillary and all, are they reptilians? Is what we're asking, I suppose.
Well, on the inside, I mean, I don't know what they're being captured by this dark, luciferic, satanic agenda. And so we have a fight over the column of the light and the column of the dark for the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what is happening. And if you have presidential candidates who insist on being in the dark and go into denial because that's what they were told when they were CIA operatives, like Bashar claims to have been, but which, contradicts all of the research in the area. I'm sorry, I've got to speak out against it. And so far I've spoken to one presidential candidate, the collective presidency that is on track. Another one who's running on the as a truth independent is Gordon Duff. Many people attack him for disinformation. I don't know what his position would be on the child sacrifice issue. I think that they would be relatively open to it and would not accuse people of being anti-American, because we point out that a functional driver in headquarters is in the United States, and its contractual relationships with these dark extraterrestrials. That's what we exist for, and this is documented in very hard research. You can go to newsinsideout.com. We have a whole major series of articles on it. We have a major report that shows that the CIA, Pope John Paul II, Bush Sr., Bush Jr., Bill and Hillary Clinton do ritual child sacrifice, and that the transhumanist agenda is the core driver of global pedophile, child sacrifice, child trafficking networks. And so I feel compelled to speak out against presidential candidates that are covering this up, and I will continue to do so, as I declared that I will. And I have said, and I have written that there should be a white hat in the White House, and that that new U.S. president should pledge to end to eradicate all of the pedophile, ritual child sacrifice, and ritual child trafficking networks on the planet. And if that is adhered to, this planet will transform. It will transform, literally, because that's the core that's going on here. I don't know whether I'm on the air or not because I'm talking through my iPhone, but
we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Okay, so that's how important I think it is.
I think it's a very important issue too, and it is global, and people are speaking out. I'm involved with some people in the UK. There was recently a video with it's called Full Story of Kids Whistleblowing the Satanic Sex Cult in Hampstead, London, which I guess we will cover pretty soon here. And I don't know what happened with these kids, if they're okay. And then I was listening to your YouTube on the Draco CIA, etc. What's it called? CIA drive child sacrifice religions. Anyway, the one you did recently, yes, with Vinny Eastwood's show, yes.
Now all of a sudden they've taken our news site offline. Newsinsideout.com cannot be.
I'm on it right now.
Oh, you are? Oh, good.
Yeah, it's okay.
Well,
it's fine. I'm on it right now.
Maybe what they're doing is that they're playing with my equipment here so that I can't go to that. And that's what's going on. But
yeah, some of the people I've been interviewing has talked about the Lee Warburg cartel, and they don't just say it's just like Americans. I'm just wondering, how does the Chinese leader and the Mr. Putin, are they part of this same group, or are they opposed, or what's the deal?
Opposed to what?
Do they do ritual sacrifice and kill kids and drink their blood too, or is it just Americans and British and Arabs? Who's doing this? Is it really the entire cartel that controls the whole world, or are there significant factions, some of which do and some of which don't do these horrible things?
Yeah, you see, I think that we're in a transitional period, and the exopolitical information that we have now is that the BRICS countries, especially the Russians, are working with a more human and ethical ET group that is not into the abduction, ritual sacrifice end of things. And so that's why the BRICS countries are like the anti-satanic end of things. That is a block that is stopping the ritual, the collective human ritual sacrifice and depopulation, which what we can call the synagogue of Satan, Rothschild end, and the Rothschilds run. You see, there is no more United States of America. That is just a brainwashed idea that Americans have when they sing the Star Spangled Banner and they get all patriotic and teary-eyed, I went to Vietnam to defend my country. That's why I had to genocide 10 million Vietnamese. Not you went to Vietnam such that Dope Inc. could import heroin from the Golden Triangle into the inner cities and addict inner city blacks, youth, and the underclass to bring the United States down as a society. and that was the strategy of the Opium War used against the United States. It was supposed to have been used during the reign of George III to kill the fledgling American Revolution, but it came instead during the Vietnam War. But from an overview point of view, what has occurred is that there is no more United States. The United States ended in 1871 when the Act of 1871 was passed, and the District of Columbia was formed. What?
Oh, what was that? Well, what happened in 1871?
Yeah, the District of Columbia was created as a city-state, and Washington, D.C. became the third city-state, along with the City of London and the Vatican, in the three city-state empire of the Vatican, the City of London, and the District of Columbia, Washington, D.C. And the Vatican specializes in the religious and intelligence gathering. London specializes, the City of London specializes in the finance, and the Washington, D.C. is the military arm, and that's why the United States is perpetually at war. I call
how can the Congress alter the Constitution by the passing of mere legislation? I don't understand how a law could change such a basic thing as the Constitution.
The Constitution is just window dressing now. All of this was done by the bankers behind the scenes. It's like the Queen of England doesn't rule England, the City of London does. The Italian government doesn't rule Italy, the Vatican does. The Congress and the president and the judges don't rule the United States, the Vatican, and the City of London, and the officials of the city-state of, that is the hidden government, the shadow government, run the city-state of Washington, D.C. And I call this three city-state empire Vatlanusa. Vatican, London, USA, Vatlanusa, like Medusa.
I see.
And that's why the United States is perpetually at war, because it's the military arm. Because it's the military arm of this three city-state empire. And
it's Orwell's three major. They said three governments would be battling each other with a fake war and maintaining the constant state of war in his book 1984. So it's Orwell's three countries, but there are these three city-states you're talking about. Now, who's at the top ruling it? Like Karen Hudas was saying, it was the Homo capensis. We've got the Dracos. We've got the other reptilian forces that some are from the earth, some from external. We've got the Anunnaki. We've got the Greys. Who's really on top of all of that?
Yeah, there's a tremendous mix of dark forces that essentially, well, now my assessment is that, thank God, and only through divine intervention, through the interdimensional portal at the core of our universe, as of December 21st, 2012, we switched to a positive timeline. The holographic timeline that we're on switched from a catastrophic timeline to a positive timeline. Otherwise, we surface dwellers on Earth would have been doomed. And that is what occurred as of December 21st, 2012.
Where's your source for that information that we did?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm rooting for it, but where's your source for that happened?
Yeah. People can go to a website that we've created, which is now in 4 languages. It's positivefuture.info, and it's in English, French, Italian, and Spanish. And there we've set out the positive future equation, which is positive future equals positive timeline plus unity consciousness. And that is essentially the structural equation which now rules the holographic reality, really sort of the virtual reality that we as non-local, we as souls that are non-locally based, but and embedded in these avatars that we know as Janet and Sasha and Alfred and everybody else listening today, because we're incarnating in this experience for soul development. Mm-hmm. But the very nature of the infrastructure of the virtual reality of the universe, of the time-space hologram, that and the timeline that we have incarnated into has shifted. And it shifted as of December 21st, 2012, when we shifted over to a positive timeline. So that all the plans that were made prior in duality consciousness, which is I win, you lose, under an old catastrophic timeline, can't gain any traction in these new frequencies. The positive future equation has supplanted and overcome an outdated matrix elite formula that is no longer effective. And that matrix elite formula was problem plus reaction equals solution. And that old one was, well, you know, we have the giants, which were the Homo capensis, which then became the pharaohs, which were coneheads and Homo capensis. And there's a direct line which come from there to the Illuminati in 1775, which then founded the second chapter of the Illuminati in my alma mater, Yale, in 1776, at Skull and Bones, which then began to plan the Mars colony as a place where they would develop a higher, a more elite-like human, you know, according to their specs for DNA, to populate the Earth after we were depopulated. So now the various elites, in obedience to what they think is a Draco plan or a luciferic plan given to them by dark forces, well, those don't reign anymore, because higher frequency and higher order transformations at the structural level in this universe took place as of December 21st, 2012, when a new holographic timeline landed. And that's what determines what happens in this virtual reality, because this fundamentally is not real. It's just a virtual reality. It's like if you had a pair of Google glasses on and you were going through your life.
Who is creating these virtual realities?
We do, scientifically.
Right.
I commend all of your listeners, I commend you to read my book, and I'm not just saying it because it's me, but my book on the Omniverse is the first book written formally on the Omniverse. Humans have encountered the universe, they've encountered the multiverse, which is the collection of all the universes, and then the Omniverse. And the Omniverse, the definition of it is the multiverse plus the spiritual dimensions, which includes source, it includes the spiritual beings, and includes the intelligent civilization of souls. And that collective, we now know from science, is the collective that acts together to create all of the universes of the multiverse. It creates and maintains all the galaxies, all the solar systems, all the planets. So in between incarnations, you and I are busy on different assignments, actually improving planets and species, because we're gods in the making. And actually our souls are holographic fragments of God. So when we say namaste, we say I salute the God within you, and it's quite literal.
Mm-hmm.
So that is what's real now. So what we've done is to write a book on the Omniverse that is the first such book, which really sets all of this out and takes it out of the mysterious and makes it transparent, such that the dark forces can no longer use it for power, because they use this system for power by keeping as much of it secret as they can.
Yes.
And that age is over. That age is over now, and it began to end as of December 21st or thereabouts, 2012.
Okay, we have a couple more minutes before the break. What else do we need to cover about the dark stuff that's happening before we take a break, and then we'll come back to the light stuff?
Well, it was the NSA or whichever minder is looking at my was not letting me get through to pages, and now they are letting me get through. And so I just want to read out here what this group Anonymous, it's a different group, but this is a report as to what's going on in Hampstead, UK. Hampstead is where the Hampstead Heath was, where 2 centuries ago Bram Stoker wrote Dracula. He lived right on the edge of Hampstead Heath. He set it in Dracula there. It's a book about blood drinking, vampires. It's all about ritual sacrifice. So England, which is the supposed ruler of the world at the occult level, is a satanic society. It is the transhumanist agenda. They're probably the most shipped, the most controlled population on the planet. And Hampstead Heath has been going as a satanic ritual center for generations. And so this is what happened. These are a bunch of schools. The school staff and parents, priests, others are doing sex to the boys, girls' bottoms with large plastic willies. Adults force the children to do oral sex. Babies are regularly supplied for the rituals, abused, tortured with rat traps, dropped on the floor, often bleed, then killed. They put them to sleep by injecting, slit baby's throat, drain blood, drink the blood, then cook the body by either roasting or frying. The meat is eaten by the leader, Dr. Dearman, teachers, 20 special children, and their parents. The baby sexual abuse and sacrifices are going on Tuesday, Wednesday, big sex day. I was wondering why my children or often pretending sick and refusing to go to school on Wednesdays. There are 4 secret rooms in the church where cult members perform their rituals. The ritual involves wearing special costumes. Children wear 10 to 13 baby skulls, sometimes with blood and hair still on the skull. Everybody has skulls worn around their neck, on the breast, front, private, belly, knees, arms. All wear shoes made of baby skin. Babies are supplied from all over the world. They buy them, inject, and send them by TNT, DHL.
Okay, we have to stop there. We'll continue the report after this commercial break. Thank you, listeners. We'll be back with more in about 5 minutes. Aloha. Aloha, and welcome back to the Sacred Matrix on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com with your host, Janet Kier Lessin, and Dr. Sasha Lessin, and we have a very special guest, Alfred Lambremont Webre. And before we get back to our show, I'd like you to take a few minutes now and go over to that donation button on the website, and please donate what you can. $1, $5, $10, $15, $20, whatever you can donate is greatly appreciated, and we do thank you very much for your donation. And before we get back to our show, Dr. Lessin, are you there?
I'm here. I'm hoping we get off of this. It's just terrible to think that this stuff is going on, and it's been going on for a long time, and that our leaders are participating in these horrible acts. I'm disgusted, to say the least.
Oh, I know. I'm getting depressed, and I just wonder, how do these people, generation after generation, why do they bother having children? There doesn't seem to be any hope or any reason to live, and it's just so dark and depressing. So I hope we can figure out how to bring this over to the real positive timeline. And I guess we have another 5 or 10 minutes of the dark stuff that we got to finish up to explain this to our listeners, and then we can pull it over to the positive. So, Alfred, back to you. Take it away.
Yeah, well, you know, we know from research, and people can go to exopolitics.com, that there are about 30 million multi-generational satanic individuals in the U.S. from multi-generational satanic families. So that's a great weight to have on the collective consciousness.
What makes these families continue to have children? I mean, if I was one of these families, I certainly wouldn't have children.
No, these are souls that come in to these families, and there are certain rules. You know, they are abused from birth, and then they are the families that, quote, rule America and rule the world. And it's the same thing that if you go to Europe, you will find them. They are the people in the monarchies. They're the people in the courts. They're the people in the banks. They're the people in the corporations. They're the people in the child welfare agencies. This is a type of soul that chooses that light and chooses this experience. And this is because we're on a very afflicted planet, that about 1 million years ago or so, the kind of spiritual governors of this planet broke away from the universe administration and rebelled against it in a move called the Lucifer Rebellion. And we're still dealing with, and from that moment, this quadrant
of the galaxy was isolated. I like to call it the Galapagos Islands of the galaxy, or of our universe. And so
we're quarantined. We're isolated and quarantined.
From a
prison planet, and we're living in hell.
Yeah, we are a very, very special planet in that we have been spiritually quarantined, and there's a tremendous amount of history of conflict that has occurred on this planet, and now it's just at the end of being resolved. There's some teaching that says that the trials of the leaders of this rebellion have already taken place, and that these creatures aren't there, and that now at the exopolitical level there are battles taking place over our head in space between the denser and more negative extraterrestrial.
Is that what people are seeing when they go out on the sky watches with the night vision goggles?
Well, they see that's what people say. Sometimes they see them as comets and explosions, and there's been a lot of anomalous stuff over the past 2 or 3 weeks that some people are ascribing to the battles, and that those controllers are now being wiped out by the ethical interdimensional ETs, and that so that the 3D, the people in 3D matrix powers who are committed to these Luciferic dark agendas don't have any of the backing that they used to have, and that, along with the fact that we're on a positive timeline now, is one of the principal drivers for the positive ascension and transformation period that we're having over this time period. That I think between 2015 and 2025, we're essentially going to be landing paradise on Earth. That's my agenda, and that's the agenda that I think is going to be happening on the planet.
Yay. I'm rooting for it. Okay.
One of the things I found in doing psychotherapy, that people that commit murders are haunted by the spirit of those whom they've killed, and these Illuminati, whoever they are, Mr. Cheney kind of guys, must have very, very troubled souls, because they are being haunted, really haunted, and they probably have a spark of the divine in them too, and they would love to be free of the karma of all these people they've killed. That's my perspective as a psychotherapist, anyhow.
Certainly, that could very well be, because we are multidimensional entities. Our souls are non-locally based. We live in a dimensional ecology. We are visited and guided all of the time by souls who come in to guide us and give us advice, either family members or other souls that may come to us in dreams, other spiritual beings, ETs, guides. We can also open ourselves up, and we can travel to other dimensions and get information and get guidance and get, so this is a dimensional ecology that we're in. We're not like inside a box. and so now, especially as all of this darkness is dropping away, and the new frequencies of the positive timeline that landed on December 21st, 2012 are increasing, and they're increasing exponentially with the awakening of humans. There's a synergistic and interactive effect between those two parts of the equation of positive future equals positive timeline plus unity consciousness. Unity consciousness means we are one. You know, there is no more war. There are no more sides. And what the positive future equation suggests is that in synergy between the positive timeline and unity consciousness, a critical mass of humanity is collectively and individually awakening for some or more actions and policies for a positive future, and synchronistically, resources and actors are brought together in a multidimensional universe processes to manifest a desirable result. And that's how things are happening. Like, for example, I find that now I get emails and people say, let's do X, Y, and Z. And all of a sudden we'll have a meeting within about 2 weeks, and there'll be a bunch of people there, and we're off on a new project that is highly synergistic and self-organizing, and that creates new possibilities for everyone, and that everybody is like mutually enriched, so that it's a time of abundance and not a time of scarcity. Whereas the old formula was problem, reaction, solution to throw everybody into scarcity, depopulation, and extinction. And that's what they're trying to do with the forced depression, with the collapse of the dollar, and all of these external structural things. Well, at the same time, we are exposing and collapsing their false reality, which is based on consuming and attempting to ride on the soul power of all of the infants that they're consuming and killing, and that's just not working anymore in the positive timeline.
Right. So they're losing this game. It's like the game of realities, and so we are. Since we've shifted 12/21/12, there's no going back. They can't. Their timeline is fading away.
Yeah. And so it's a matter of humans awakening to this, awakening to it, and in a way, the biggest block of unconsciousness lies in the United States, because the United States is not a nation, it's a corporation, and it's a city-state that was designated as the military arm of the three-city state empire of that Lanusa. So it's constantly waging wars. So that's why you have the longest elections in history. Here in Canada, if you have a national election, by law, it's limited to 30 days. The electioneering is limited to 30 days. You cannot campaign for more than 30 days. In the U.S.,
wow.
It's a permanent campaign.
Yeah.
And it's just it's the old Roman principle of bread and circuses. So you're just feeding people's memes, and you're tricking them that they still have a country and that the elections matters. Whereas the CIA, through secret time travel, has pre-identified and pre-groomed the winner of that. And the only way to break this is to awaken the population such that they break out of that artificial, controlled, catastrophic timeline, which is what the CIA was using back in 1971 to predict the 2016, 2020, and 2024 elections, because the timeline shifted.
How does one know that they're out of this control? You know, that's a concept. So we want people to awaken and get out of it. How do they do that? How do they awaken and get out of it? How do they stop participating?
Well, what you do is you just wake up. You get up out of the consensual trance, and you stop projecting that you're inside this box, that all you have are Republicans and Democrats, and the only choice you have is Hillary Clinton and Jeb Bush. You know, two ritual sacrifice satanic families that are,
this waking up process
of the dark
this
agenda.
waking up process and being aware of the game, that it's a false game. Does that somehow affect the continuum? Because thoughts are deeds. I'm trying to get how does it work so I can concretize and explain it to our listeners so they can get their head around it.
Yeah, so that the Democrats and the Republicans are winning by these small amounts of votes, and a lot of people are staying home, and the young people are staying home because they're massively disaffected according to the polls. They know that it's a brainwashing exercise.
Well, even voting is a fictitious process because they control everything. They tell the media what the numbers are, and they just say that. There's no way to verify or confirm any numbers that they're putting out there as the results of an election, because they can just go in and change them anytime they want to. They control everything.
Yeah, and a growing number of Americans know that they don't have a government, that they have a corporation that's in charge of them, that's faking it like a government.
Are there any governments anywhere that are really serving the people, or is this a global phenomenon? And even this subdivision of there might be freedom here and there is all.
Well, we're in a transitional period. So far, the leaders of the BRICS countries, by and large, are acting responsibly. They're bringing out real money that's based on gold that people have confidence in, unlike the fiat money in Asia. They call it toilet paper of the U.S., and which they're just doing so that they can maintain their position and deliver the wars that they're supposed to deliver on behalf of the three-city empire of Vatican, City of London, and Washington, D.C., District of Columbia, Vatlanusa. And so Russia, what they're doing inside the BRICS is that, meanwhile, while the West is made Fukushima into the equivalent of a planetary gas chamber through the lethal radiation there, and is through the use of polar vortices and weather warfare of HAARP, is taking that radiation and is dumping it over the entire northern hemisphere. At the same time, and you can go to our newsinsideout.com web portal, and you'll see that inside the BRICS in Russia, Putin is directing the Russian HAARP to expel the radiation from Russia, so that the radiation is being kept outside of Russia.
Right. So that's what George Green said, that they have the agenda to take out the basically North America, and so he already bought his property in South America, and a lot of the Illuminati connected people are bailing and going to South America. So they're going to take their agenda, apparently, according to him, is to, like you said, to radiate the United States and Canada, and we're all
yeah,
close.
and Western Europe also.
In Western Europe. All right, so this isn't fun. Any way you look at it, are we going to get any assistance from any extraterrestrials? So that I don't like the idea. I don't like the reality, the multiverse, or this agenda to wipe out, the United States and Canada and Europe. So, is there something we can do to curtail this, or
there's
what can we do?
Yeah. There's a great deal that we can do. Since you've come to me, I believe that we have a basic solution, and the solution has been provided by, you can call it divine intervention, you can call it the operation of the omniverse, the multiverse, and the universe. And that is that the basic infrastructure of our time-space hologram has shifted as of December 21st, 2012, such that we're now on a positive timeline. And the more that humans wake up, for example, it's entirely possible now, if we all get behind the collective presidency, to unite all of the parties that have ballot access, the Greens and the Libertarian parties, and to run a single ticket with all of the people that are going to run the government, and to vote out the child sacrifice governments, either the Bushes or the Clintons in 2016, and to turn off HAARP, and to pass a law disestablishing the District of Columbia and either making it a state or giving the land back to Virginia and Maryland, and just getting out of that secret deal that the Vatican and the City of London bankers forced, together with the Jesuits, forced the U.S. to go into in 1871 because of the Civil War that the Rothschilds had forced upon the U.S. in the first place. So
Alfred, this whole thing though relies on elections, and I think that's the catch-22.
Look,
the elections are controlled. How are we going to get them to let go of their power control when they control literally everything, including elections?
Yeah. Look, let me say, the thesis that I'm putting forward is that we're in a new video game. Mm-hmm. It used to be in the video game called War, Disease, Crime, and Poverty. And that video game changed on December 21st, 2012. And the video game that we're in now is called Landing Paradise on Earth. But the problem is that we have 7 billion people on the planet, and a lot of the billions think that we're still on War, Disease, Crime, and Poverty. So everybody's skeptical.
And if you look at the news,
we're in Landing Paradise on Earth. So all you have to do is start a project and the universe will get you there. You get it?
Okay.
Start your positive projects, and you'll get there. Whatever
because we're on the
positive
positive
start them,
timeline,
and you'll get there.
because we're on this positive timeline, it'll support our positive energies. But the Illuminati or whoever they are, keeping us focused on the old agenda.
All of their false flags have failed. They've been trying to get us into World War III, and they failed. On January 7th, 2015, they had the Charlie Hebdo false flag in Paris. That was elaborately prepared. They had all of their Rothschild lapdog heads of state fly into Paris for a photo op. Charlie Hebdo means Charlie 7, which is the name of Charles VII, who is a London-based creator, is part of Seven Gate, who 11 years now, she's had won the largest judgment in British court history on intellectual property theft. So they have gone around using the creative properties of this woman named Seven, Charles Seven, and this is a syndicate that involves the top barristers, lawyers in the UK. It involves the BBC, ITV, Virgin Media, and media in 120 countries, including Dancing with the Stars in ABC.
Wow.
And the proceeds of this are used to fund false flags like 7/7, in which the Queen and Prince Philip did the capstone when they rode around London in an open carriage, giving the all clear signal, but it was total false flag. And the same thing on January 7th, when it was the Charlie Hebdo, Rothschild bought the Charlie Hebdo magazine building 2 months before the false flag, and there's a roving company, like a repertory company, that roves around the planet doing false flags. Like we used to have the CIA Operation 40, they did all of the assassinations. They assassinated Olof Palme, John Lennon, Martin Luther King, Robert Kennedy, John F. Kennedy. They're all mostly Cuban exiles. And now they've graduated, and they have a bunch of crisis actors, and they go from city to city putting on false flags. They put on
that same woman.
They put on the school. Then they put on Paris. Charlie Hebdo. Charlie Hebdo means Charles VII, and it was supposed to start World War III. Well, we did 5 interviews with Charles VII, and we surfaced 7 Gate, and we blew them out. So they don't have any more traction. See, we're blowing Rothschild out. We're blowing them all out. You have come to the fountain of truth. This is where it's at. This is where it's at. We have discovered the formula, the equation, which is positive future equals positive timeline plus unity consciousness. And that has supplanted the positive future equation, has supplanted and overcome the outdated matrix elite equation formula around which they do their false flags, which is problem plus reaction equals solution. And they do all their wars with that. They do all their wars with false flags. Look, World War I, what they did is they did a false flag where they false flagged the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand. So then all the heads of state were cousins. All the kings and queens were cousins. They were all part of Queen Victoria's family. So they staged a family fight so they could kill 100 million people and have a ritual child sacrifice, a ritual human sacrifice. You get it? That's what's going on the planet. It's all, you can have ritual child sacrifice, or you can have ritual sacrifice and suffering, and create lots of stuff for the Dracos and for the evil guys who love that, who love suffering and sacrifice and souls for the soul market. Or are you going to create expansion and soul experience here? We are the group of souls that create planets for, according to the divine order, for soul development. And you can go to the Universe book and you see, according to science, that that's what this is about. So what we're doing now, for the first time since the Lucifer rebellion, is fully restoring the cosmic law on planet Earth. And that's what you're witnessing at this time. Now, what it requires is awakening to the full miracle. Now, that takes a lot of time because humans will go back into their fears. The human.
Well, I think we have the capacity to do things rather rapidly, because remember the Berlin Wall.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the listeners out there are of that generation. It's kind of like those that were raised with the Cold War, right? So you had this, the bomb's going to come and drop and dive under your desk at school. Like, that's going to be any good. But the Berlin Wall was also a painful concept of these people that were behind this wall. And yet we saw it come down all in one day. So that is a model. This can take years, or this could happen in one day. And it just takes us really getting our heads around this concept that we are in control. We are not victims. And now you have this, we're on a positive timeline, and just focusing our thought. If we all focused our thoughts, everybody listening here and those who listen to the archives and put this out here on Facebook, then we could create a new Berlin Wall and create this positive timeline tomorrow. Correct?
Well, I didn't follow all of that about the Berlin Wall, but look, the positive timeline rules this time-space hologram, and it's basically our consciousness and our ability to appreciate the fact that we're living on a paradise planet, and that the only thing that is disturbing that are false flag wars, are a unitary evil that is attempting to divert our attention to get involved in struggle and to keep us out of that. That's why the committed satanics have these hubs like Hampstead and like Sur hubs in many, many nations where they commit satanic sacrifice, in conjunction with certain holidays, or all the time they put baby parts in McDonald's and all sorts of food. It's to try and keep people's vibration really, really down. We're all aware of that. We're aware of the crucial thing that's keeping us down, and it's this sacrifice ritual stuff. And if we break that and we bring that to consciousness, and we keep the Bushes and the Clintons out of the White House in 2016,
out of the White House,
and we have a white hat that is committed and conscious to all of this in the positive timeline, America will begin to rejoin the community of civilized nations. We can get the United States back very easily by either making the District of Columbia a state. It could be the first African-American state, because that's where the African-Americans went, because they felt persecuted in the South, correct? And with good reason. And so a lot of the District of Columbia is African-American. So you'll have a new state, call it Columbia or whatever you want to call it. They'll have 2 senators. They'll have however many representatives their population is, but they'll no longer be the city-state. And the United States will have to find a new way of making money other than by destroying other countries and destroying the ecology of the planet.
I agree. Sasha, are you still there? We haven't heard from you.
Yes, I certainly am. And of course, for the way I look at things is a little bit different than everybody else. If we're really looking at for unity consciousness, we have to look at I think, the Berlin Wall, and especially Mikhail Gorbachev, who was, the czar of the Russians, and who let the Berlin Wall fall and let the Poles go and didn't send the troops in. And Mr. Carter, who after he retires, starts building houses for poor people. And to remember that the killing that these horrible people are doing represents inside of us a part of us that's killing a part of us. And what part is that? From the psychological point of view, it's our vulnerability. So I think that the Illuminati who have cut off their vulnerability need to get in touch with it. And we who have cut off our assertiveness and we're so vulnerable, we need to get in touch with that and to embrace both assertiveness in the form of nullity for the existing system and that will start within yourself is what I would suggest, to embrace both your assertiveness and your vulnerability, and that's a good first step from my perspective.
Yeah, because we're creating both paradigms, the negative timeline and the positive timeline. We were participating in supporting it in some level, that was serving our soul or our growth or whatever it was, to support this negative timeline. So now we're on a positive timeline, is what I keep saying, and that we need to give our listeners out there and the people of the planet something to wrap their heads around, because all they know, everybody alive today, all they know is this negative stuff that they were born into. Can you show us or tell us what would this new world look like for us to rally around and get behind?
Alfred. Right. So people can go to a 27-page paper, which is at positivefuture.info, and it's in 4 languages now, and there's even a video there. It's a video which is in both French and English. I did it with some people in France, and in France, this idea is really starting to take off. And
good.
And at the end of the 27-page paper, we did we have some suggested collective actions and policies whereby we can begin to accelerate creating a positive future along the positive timeline in unity consciousness. And I can read out just the main titles of those so people get an idea. The first is truth and disclosure, a disclosure of intelligent civilizations, of the organized intelligent universe, the multiverse, space travel, space colonization, space governance, new energy, teleportation, and time travel, a rollout of sequestered free energy technology for powering dwellings, human settlements, industry, transport, propulsion, communication, and many other areas. Right now, we've been left behind by the, quote, breakaway civilization, which is nothing more than the Mars Colony Corporation, which was led by none other than Richard B. Cheney. It's just a bunch of profiteers and crony capitalism out there. The implementation of teleportation is a global, national, regional, and local transportation system replacing polluting fossil fuel vehicles, trains, buses, trucks, autos, and their intensive land use in highways, railways, and urban freeways, as well as a regulated time travel public education program.
recognition of animals as sentient beings with rights, a worldwide grant of personhood rights to animals with concomitant rights against murder, slaughter, torture, cruel and inhumane treatment, special intelligent civilization status for cetaceans, including whales and dolphins, the development of healthy, safe, tasty protein meat substitutes for humanity's consumption and nutrition. Humans, contactees, have been on extraterrestrial spacecraft that have had wonderful meals, steak dinners and the whole bit, and none of it involves killing animals.
Right. And I think we had a prime, and I will go back to this, but I just want to interject. We have an example of this alternative universe that we can get our heads around in Star Trek. And I can't tell you how deeply I was affected by the death on February 28th of Leonard Nimoy, who played the iconic Spock.
Right.
This was an example of, and I mourned not only his death, but the loss of this timeline we had, this concept, which for my generation, took over and affected, the baby boomers of the 60s that were the protesters of the concept of war. So Star Trek showed us the reality. We space explorers, of course, even that during the course of its 20 plus, or I guess it's going on 50 years, they get hijacked by warmongers who, make space into a space battle. But, and with that being said, I think that's a prime example of the concept of where we can go with this. And on Star Trek, they didn't have food that was meat, except for the Klingons. They ate worms or something. But they had the same thing. They had the food that we're seeing at the experiencers that they found that they've been having on spacecraft. Tell us a little bit more of the role of the experiencers that you're finding with your research in creating this positive timeline.
Sorry, I didn't get that. Remember that I'm on my iPhone here, so I've got to. Yeah.
He's reading a list of the principles that would inform the new age, and I don't think he got through with the list of principles.
Go ahead.
There's more.
Finish your principles, and then I want to talk about experiencers. But go ahead, Alfred.
Oh yeah. Well, look, here's something that I think is really good, because this whole concept of authority is totally artificial. Authority and hierarchy is totally artificial. That's a hand down from the Anunnaki occupation. Excuse me. That's my opinion.
I agree.
And so we now know that we can have secure online communications. They're running all of their genocidal wars out of Tampa, Florida, using secure online communications. So that technology can be adapted for positive purposes so that we can have secure online democracy at the local, regional, national, and global level. That means that you eliminate the middleman or the middle person. You don't have city councils. You don't have state assemblies. You don't have provincial parliaments. You don't have national congresses. You don't have national parliaments. You don't have world governments. The people vote on it directly. It's the model that they've had it for successfully in Switzerland. It's the Swiss canton democracy, where everybody gathers in the village square and they vote directly on proposals. You don't have, because as soon as you have intermediaries like the city council, the powers that be are going to go up and co-opt the city council, and they're always going to vote for the powers that be. And that has always been, and it will always be. And so
that's what we see that happening even here in Maui. Very corrupt local government. Yeah.
And that's what happened with the U.S. Constitution, which was written by oligarchs for oligarchs. And, it took, the only mode that you had then was horseback, so it took a long time for people to ride on horseback, but now you've got nanoseconds. And you've got secure, so that people, you've got your secure terminal, and when things come up for a vote, a law, you vote on whether you want this policy or that policy or the other policy. And then what you have is departments that are purely functional. They take out the garbage, they clean the streets, they make sure that all of the following policies are carried out. Now, I'm going to get into the policies now, because this is a paradise planet. And we're supposed to have fun here. We're supposed to be developed.
We are.
What?
We are supposed to have fun.
First of all, the reinvention of money as a human right. It's like right now it's set up so that we're all in scarcity. And there's a new book out by Bernard Leotard that says money is to humans like water is to fish. Well, what are they trying to do? Starve humans? Yes, that's what they're trying to do, is to kill us all. So the reinvention of money is a human right and a public utility like air, water, electricity, available for creative investment at public money utilities. If you're going to start ideas for a creative business, we're all creative, then you just go to the public money utility and you get money to start that. And there's a global ban on privately controlled central banks like the U.S. Federal Reserve System, which is nothing but a giant leech and octopus that has thrown the world into a century of world wars and genocide in order to feed the loose market for the Dracos, that's the suffering, spiritual suffering, and also the dead souls market from all the wars, World War I, World War II. What happens is that there's a dead souls market that they come here because there's a lot of planets that have a shortage of souls for all their bodies. So they come here and they just grab all the souls and they sell them off to other planets. So
they're taking souls and harvesting souls, not bodies, but souls.
Yeah, that wars are like a huge sacrifice, and that's what the current matrix is doing. They're all manipulated. World War I.
So those souls that died in wars don't get to come back to the earth. They might be sold off somewhere.
It's totally manipulated. That's why unconscious people. Oh, I'm a patriot. I went to Vietnam and I killed 10 million gooks.
Right.
Aren't people conscious? Don't people have any consciousness and know that patriotism is the last refuge of scoundrels?
Yeah.
God. I mean, aren't people literate anymore?
No. Well, maybe they will after this show.
Okay. Next, social guarantees in the form of annual income, health care, and elementary, secondary, and post-secondary education for everybody on the planet for life. This is what this is about. It's to create invention. It's to really, we're coming into 3D to enjoy what we create in the dimensional ecology. Our souls are probably involved in the creation of Earth in the dimensional ecology. So let us come here in our bodies and enjoy our creation and tweak it even more. Next, world debt forgiveness, global forgiveness of all public and private debts. They're fraudulent. What happened with these debts, I mean, the Rothschild and those families are like, they are the darkest evil of the darkest evil.
Darkest.
They set up the Federal the Federal Reserve Bank. Those powers are enumerated in the U.S. Constitution. The U.S. government has the ability to do its own money, and what they did is that they either assassinated through the false flag of the Titanic, and then they got a crooked politician, Woodrow Wilson, who rooted for the rest of his life, got them to pass the Federal the Federal Reserve Act in Christmas holiday of 1913, after a Rothschild agent came over from the city of London, and they manipulated the bank panic of 1907 in that formula of problem, reaction, solution, and they set up the Federal Reserve Bank, and then plunged into World War I, and then plunged into World War II because they set up the Bolsheviks through Averell Harriman and through Lenin, who was Vladimir Lenin was taken in a boxcar through the Finland station, through the Rothschilds, and then through Averell Harriman, who was part of Skull and Bones, which is the second chapter of the Illuminati. They handpicked the Bolsheviks to give them, who were a fringe party, and they brought them to the center of the Russian Revolution, so that they co-opted it, and they were controlling communism, and then through the Fritz Tyson Bank, Skull and Bones, through George Bush's father and grandfather, Lowell Bush, they control Hitler. So they control capitalism, fascism, and communism. And then, wars are controlled by controlling all sides of the war. And the debt was just a way to imprison us further. But the purpose of this is to defeat soul development. It's to turn. It's luciferic. It's to turn the design of the universe and the galaxy and the universe reincarnation systems, and to turn it into an area of degradation of souls rather than enhancement. And soul development is you are becoming gods. Is to really trash the souls, and it's an insult to the divine, and money is a way to do that, because
there's 4
money
minutes.
is a tool.
There's 4 minutes left, Alfred. We got
Okay,
to try to
so
wrap this up.
Anyway, just go to positivefuture.info, and you can see this. And if you want to keep track on it on a day-to-day basis, go to newsinsideout.com, and if you really want to know what's going on, that's what I think. And I may be outspoken, and people may say, Alfred, you're anti-American. No, I'm not. I'm against the U.S. corporation, and I tell it like it is.
Great.
With neither fear nor favor, and that's my my spiel for the day.
Thank you. You've took us a long way.
We still have 3 minutes, and I wanted to know, under this new system, what I got to download is that there would be a system where everybody would get their basic needs met in some new system. How many hours a week would we have to work in this new system? Are we still going to be, it seems like this 40-hour work week is a form of slavery.
Look,
what are your thoughts on those type of things?
Ideally, nobody has to work anymore. It's all play. It's all pleasure. There is no more slavery, because work is a concept that was introduced to us when we went into Anunnaki slavery. You see, we have to throw off all of these means that are enslaving us now. Throw off authority, throw off hierarchy, throw off money. We're redefining all of this. We're on the positive timeline. It's these means that are governing us, like work. It's not work anymore. It's creation.
How do we get the basic things done, like the roadway shoveled off of the snow? How do we provide basic services for this new society? How do we provide basic services to this new society. I guess what I need to get my head around is more detail about some of the concepts of how we would provide everything for everybody. And we only have 2 minutes left, so I guess we'll have to
look,
your show, but
everybody is essentially a billionaire to start with, and think of it, if you didn't have to spend so much time trying to stay alive when they're trying to exterminate you, think of the abundance that there's going to be of natural food, of everything. Right now, there's a determined enemy with all high technology and their entire budget trying to exterminate us.
Right.
Imagine when all of that is reversed and transformed.
Okay, we have 1 minute. How do people reach you, Alfred? And we'll have to have you back again.
You go to Exopolitics at exopolitics.com. Go to exopolitics.com. Go to newsinsideout.com and go to positivefuture.info. And I'm the worldwide Weber.
You certainly are. And we love having you on this show, Alfred. Sasha, any final words? We have like about 30 seconds or 20 seconds.
Really,
we will put an end to these baby killers and stop participating in institutions. I'd like all the soldiers to lay down their arms, return to your bases, demand coming home, and stop participating in institutions that support wars.
And it might be 58 that we're going off. Okay. Any final words on that, Alfred?
Thank you. My word is this. We're on the positive timeline. There is no catastrophic timeline. There are no excuses. Okay? Just awaken to the positive timeline. That's what's structurally there, scientifically.
So if you just embrace it and start living from it, then it will become your reality.
Yeah. And, so start reading on that end of things. And if you start reading, if you want to follow the negative stuff, well, do so, but just see it as, I'm just watching all the boils come to the surface. Begin to learn how to read reality from the point of view of the positive timeline. Don't get enmeshed into the breakdown.
Right, and so shut off the television is one thing, and you don't have to have these absolute rules, but break out of the brainwashing is the main thing. Break out of the brainwashing. Yes, you can take back the United States, but you got to be really awake, and you have to listen to voices like ours. You can't listen to the syrup. It will get you nowhere. And that's the end of our show. Thank you, Alfred. Thank you, Sasha. And thank you, listeners, for joining us at the Sacred Matrix. Love and blessings. Aloha.
Listen to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
Who owns you? If you're not in control, then someone else is. Join me, Ivy West, for Voices on the Wind, Saturday from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern in Studio A. I discuss government, health, metaphysics, suppressed science, universal mysteries, little-known incredible facts, alternative energies, and even more than you can imagine. Won't you join us on Revolution Radio Saturdays from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern for Voices on the Wind with me, Ivy West.
There are lives in the balance, people under fire, children at the cannons.
Because if your head's in the sand, your tail is a target.